Global diaspora sparked at the first multidisciplinary Filipino studies in Hawaii. U.S. travel bans affected the first multidisciplinary Filipino studies in Hawaii Big Island of Hilo recently. Global Filipino diaspora, multiculturalism and cohesion still resonated despite of the two-day shortened conference hosted by the Filipino Studies program of the University of Hawaii Hilo. U.S. appeals court ruling against latest travel ban news on 8 countries was confirmed by New York Times journalist Miriam Jordan last December 22nd in its latest version of the ban. The Trump administration restricted travel from 8 nations, 6 of them predominantly Muslim. Most citizens of Chad, Iran, Libya, North Korea, Somalia, Syria, and Yemen are barred from entering, along with some groups from Venezuela. New York Times reporter Ms. Jordan wrote, "A federal appeals court ruled Friday against President Trump's latest travel ban, saying that it exceeds the scope of his delegated authority, but that it was ultimately for the Supreme Court to decide." Exactly 40 global lecturers were denied of U.S. visa. Out of the 67 delegates invited, only 25 international PhD and about to be PhD presenters lectured at the conference themed Filipinos Around the World, Enriching Knowledge, Beauty and Culture Related to Filipinos and the Philippines. Less than 20 has successfully attained U.S. visas joined by U.S. citizens residents or U.S. visa holders. Dr. Rodney Jubilado Uhilo, a 3-judge panel of the United States Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit in Seattle affirmed the decision of a federal judge in Hawaii who ruled on October 17th that the order was unlawful on statutory grounds. The ruling on Friday was a procedural but important step. This month, the Supreme Court allowed the ban, the third version issued by the Trump administration, to take effect for now, and encouraged the appeals courts to rule on the case, a sign that it intended to take up the matter. The Court of Appeals for the Fourth Circuit is considering a similar ruling out of Maryland. Neil Cottle, who argued the case before the Ninth Circuit Court for the state of Hawaii, hailed the decision. Ms. Jordan added, "We are very pleased the Court of Appeals recognized that the president's latest travel ban is flatly illegal," he said, "and that his order defies the law Congress has laid down." As a direct result, 40 attendees were officially denied of the U.S. visa. Among the 67 international presenters invited to lecture at the first Multidisciplinary Filipino Studies Conference, held last October 27th to 28th at University of Hawaii Hilo on the beautiful paradise of Hawaii, USA. Global Filipino diaspora, multiculturalism and cohesion still resonated despite of the 2-day shortened conference hosted by the Filipino Studies program of the University of Hawaii Hilo, due to its lack of international presenters coming from countries facing restrictions or heightened scrutiny like Saudi Arabia and Iraq, among others. This writer, an Australian citizen, entered Hawaii under the Visa Waiver Program VWP, enabling nationals of certain countries to travel to the United States for tourism or business visitor visa purposes for stays of 90 days or less without obtaining a visa. This writer, an Australian citizen, entered Hawaii under the Visa Waiver Program VWP, enabling nationals of certain countries to travel to the United States for tourism or business visitor visa purposes for stays of 90 days or less without obtaining a visa, are screened at their port of entry into the United States, and are enrolled in the Department of Homeland Security's U.S. Visit Program. Dr. Rodney Jubilado, Chair and Associate Professor, Department of Languages, Coordinator Hilo Filipino Studies Program and the conference organizer, explained, "Only 25 presenters has lectured, majority successfully attained visas for the conference related to Filipinos and the Philippines, themed Filipinos Around the World, Enriching Knowledge, Beauty, and Culture, joined by U.S. citizens residents or existing U.S. visa holders. Topics of conference focused on the fields of agricultural science, allied health services, anthropology, art and cultural studies, diaspora and migration studies, education, politics, economics, education, ESL, film studies, gender studies, languages, indigenous studies, linguistics. The good side of the story is its success in exchanging and sharing of their study abstracts, ideas, researches, studies, experiences, and other academic pursuits, endeavors, and interests related to the Filipinos and the Philippines. Filipino global diaspora blossomed regardless of the 40 attendees. Denied of the U.S. visa among the 67 international presenters invited to lecture last October 27th to 28th at University of Hawaii Hilo, Uhilo on the Polynesian islands of Hawaii, USA. The two-day shortened conference was open to academics, K-16 teachers, students, media practitioners, policymakers, postdocs, professionals, researchers, and other practicing scholars. The Big Island community has attended with activities that included a traditional kipipi opening, entertainment. They feature Filipino food and cultural access Big Island by Iris Gill, Via Crucis Big Island fashion artist, hosted by the University of Hawaii Hilo's Filipino Studies program of an Equal Opportunity Affirmative Action Institution. Pinoy Global Diaspora emanated during the shortened two-day conference, resulted from lack of international presenters coming from the Philippines, Saudi Arabia, and other USA banned 7 listed countries like Iran, Libya, Syria, Yemen, Somalia, Chad, and North Korea. County of Hawaii Mayor Harry Ken and the Fala Filipino community welcomed Mayor Josh Edward Kubangbang of Philippines as new sister city Cabugao, Ilocos Sur, as they officially declared the sisterhood agreement between the County of Hawaii and Cabugao City, Philippines. This Pino's media spectator saw the good side of the story, which lies in its success in exchanging and sharing of their varied global study abstracts, ideas, researches, studies, experiences, and other academic pursuits, endeavors, and interests related to the Filipinos and the Philippines. With the Filipinos and the Philippines in focus, topics focused on the fields of agricultural sciences, allied health sciences, anthropology, art studies, cultural studies, Pinoy global diaspora, and migration studies, education, ESL, film studies, gender studies, languages. More importantly, subjects on indigenous studies was discussed, along with Southeast Asian studies, linguistics, literature, media and communication, museology, performing arts, popular culture, politics and governance, economics, psychology, religion, sociology, sustainability studies, tourism studies, urban studies, women's studies, world Englishes, and other areas. This Pino's writer, although married to an Iranian-Australian dual citizen, has successfully entered the Hawaiian U.S. territories as an Australian citizen under the Visa Waiver Program VWP Thoth Electronic System for Travel Authorization ESTA, screened at their port of entry into the United States, and are enrolled in the Department of Homeland Security's U.S. Visit Program. Dr. Rodney Jubilato, Chair and Associate Professor, Department of Languages, the Filipino-Malaysian Multilingual Coordinator of Uhilo Filipino Studies Program and the conference's Abstract Committee and organizer, explained, out of the 67 global delegates invited, less than 20 has successfully attained U.S. visas, joined by U.S. 6 citizens residents and or U.S. visa holders. Total of 25 presenters for the conference related to Filipinos and the Philippines themed Filipinos around the world, enriching knowledge, beauty, and culture. This writer travel escorted the 2 Philippine delegates and presenters from Eulogio Amang Rodriguez Institute of Science and Technology, IRIS, namely Ed the Pillow, Ed, On her lecture on the effect of sodium ions and calcium ions on a batch biosorption of lead on the surface of Sargassum illicifolium. And co-presenter Marilie Monterona, Ed. DPA, RLGC Bachelor of Science in Psychology, Masters in Guidance and Counseling, Doctor of Education, Doctor of Public Administration, who lectured on the rehabilitation and reintegration of minor offenders in Metro Manila, basis for policy enhancement. Dr. Monterona has been a resource speaker of various forums, like International Multidisciplinary Education and Development Conference 2014 conducted by Pan Asia Training and Research Institute, as well as International Risk Conference on Higher Education sponsored by Alliance of Dreamers and Leaders for Excellence, Asia Pacific Society for Public Affairs APSPA, Philippine Association of Institutions for Research, Inc., PAIR. She is an active member of the Psychological Association of the Philippines PAP, Philippine Guidance and Counseling Association PGCA, Integrated Professional Counselors, Association of the Philippines IPCAP, and Philippine Society of Public Administration PSPA. The second presenter under my watch is Ed the Pillow, Ed, on the effect of sodium ions and calcium ions on a batch biosorption of lead to on the surface of Sargassum illicifolium. Dr. Pillow's abstract study is undertaken to identify the effect of alkali and alkaline metal ions on the biosorption capacity of Sargassum illicifolium by varying the temperature. The initial concentration of lead to in solution, the concentration of competing ions, and the quantity of the biosorbent on the system. The experiments were conducted using batch process. The result shows that Sargassum illicifolium used before the batch process is a lead-free biomass. The effect of sodium ions and calcium ions is significantly noticeable on the biosorption of lead to onto the surface of the biomass. The sorption of lead is directly proportional to temperature to the initial concentration of lead to nth amount of the biomass. However, the sorption of lead to decreases as the concentration of the competing ions increases. The effect of calcium ions is relatively low compared to sodium ions. There is no significant effect on the sorption of lead to on the system of low concentration of sodium ions and high concentration of lead to. Those results can be accounted to design a biosorption process of lead to using Sargassum illicifolium that will optimize its adsorption capacity. It will also show the effect of impurities, which is naturally present in water and wastewater, as interference in the sequestration of the biosorbent of lead to an actual wastewater. The conference's keynote speaker, Can Baron Jose, Wendell P. Capelli, MPIL Cantab, PhD Honor Professor, and Assistant Vice President for Public Affairs, University of the Philippines, lectured on the arts and culture specifically focused on the Metro Pop and the rise of original Filipino music, 1976 to 1985. He was joined by the plenary speaker American Dr. Bruce Matthew Zuhilo, the Dean and Professor of Soil Science from the College of Agriculture, Forestry, and Natural Resource Management. Bruce is married to a Filipina. He lectured on the resilience of Philippine crop production in the face of soil degradation and climate change in Bukidnon. The lecture on exercise of rights of biracial children in the Philippines by Maria Margarita Marius Levides, Auckland University of Technology was winning research presenter. Angeles City is internationally known as an entertainment hub in a country where prostitution is both a crime and, according to the Catholic Church, a sin. My PhD research is a qualitative study about, for, and with the biracial children in Angeles City, including, but not limited to, those who are offspring of Filipino sex workers and foreign sex tourists. Winning lecture Marge Levide said, "My research aims to address the biracial children's limited ability to fully exercise those rights guaranteed in the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child (UNCRC). It also investigates the local government's restricted engagement with children, as well as its lack of specific policies for biracial children. Marilie spent almost 7 months in Angeles City for the preparation and fieldwork for her research. 10 biracial children of different ethnicities participated in the study, as well as 26 caregivers, teachers, local government officials, and other adults. A few of the Philippine delegations were presenters from De La Salle, Dasmariñas, namely Maria Victoria Aguilar, Michelle Catudio, Zina, Menga Wang, Betty Puzon, and Rafael Santiago Jr. is from De La Salle College of St. Benald. Maria Victoria Aguilar lectured on religious tourism in the Philippines, a focus on Tal Batangas. Michela Catudio on status of Filipino programs outside the Philippines, collections and analysis. Zina explained a study on the significance of Confucianism in constructing the maritime Silk Road in ASEAN, while Mengo Wang on the comparative study on the curricular offerings of English education programs, and De La Salle Dasmariñas and Hui Binormal University, Betty Puzon on introductions in research genre, the Filipino ingenuity, while Rafael Leo Santiago Jr. lectured on Pagahanda and Kagamatang Interactivo. Sa Pagpapanladang Paganoa sa Pagbasa, while Yolanda Alfaro Suda Kobe College lectured on the early Filipino migrants to Japan. 3 Philam Hawaiian presenters were from University of Hawaii: Manoa, Jordan Luz, Elena Clariza, and Paul Lyons, and the Big Island of Hilo's IO presenters were Norman Orankin, Celia Bardwell-Jones, Sacht England, Rodney Jubilato PhD Hilo, and Chantalvos Netherlands Hilo. Jordan Luz narrated his abstract Standing Up to Silence, Finding Voices Through Storytelling in When the Elephants Dance. Elena Clariza on the talk story Activism, Preserving and Sharing Our History of Triumph and Resistance from the Philippines to Hawaii. Celia Bardwell-Jones, Associate Professor of Philosophy and Chair, Gender and Women's Studies, spoke on What Does a Filipino Feminist Look Like? Reflections of a Filipina Daughter. Uhilo's Dutch-American Chantal Voss and Filipino-American Norman Arancons combined abstract is on the challenges for papaya growers in Hawaii. Kai's Amir Kadim of Buraimi University College had a paper 16 focused on the structural changes in English-Arabic translation of BBC News text, arising from cultural, ideological, and sociolinguistic differences. The rest of the Philam Pinox presenters were Kristen Oberiano, Harvard University, Rachel Tatro Duarte Porterville College, Vince Leitweiler, University of Washington, Kristen Oberiano on Addressing American Empire in the Pacific, Chamorro American Identity, and Filipino Settler Colonialism in 20th Century Guam. Rachel Duarte spoke of Payak Sangia Hinagagma, the heart of her beloved Reading Through the Cultural palimpsest of Juanita Cruz, and Vince Leitweiler on Waking Up from the Afro-Asian Century in the Black Pacific. Other presenters were American Guy Emerson, Mount University of Chicago, and Filipino Americanjas Saplin of Hamilton College. Dr. Emerson Mount focused on narrating a Black Pacific, Black imaginaries in Filipino geographies, and Black Pacific assemblages, while J. Saplin on Conductor na Bakla, Queer, Filipino-American choral conductors, and the performance of gender, sexuality, race, and choral music. emceed by FAHM Committee's 2017, Jane Clement, President of Kobo Foundation, President of Convisayan Club, and Dr. Norman Alarcon, ASO Professor of CAFRNM, Affiliate Faculty, Phil Studies. The Barrio Fiesta Nights program displayed Pinoy and Hawaiian heritages. The University of Hawaii students were the conference volunteers and participated with the program, aim-headed by Rodney Jubilato PhD, to help build their leadership skills. That ended with the Barrio Fiesta evening traditional dances, funfair sharing to yummy lechons, varied Pinoy viands, and colorful sweets. Global diaspora sparked at the first multidisciplinary Filipino Studies in Hawaii, County of Hawaii Mayor Harry Kim, and the fellow Filipino community welcomed Mayor Josh Edward Cobangbang of Philippines as new sister city Cabigao, Ilocos Sur, as they officially declared the sisterhood agreement between the County of Hawaii and Cabigao City, Philippines. Mayor Cobangbang, 21, one of the youngest among the elected mayors in the Philippines, has recently arrived in the Big Island, Hilo, welcomed by Mayor Harry Kim of the County of Hawaii and Marcia Sokoy, the University of Hawaii Hilo's interim chancellor, along with Cabigao City Council members Danila Gazman, Vicky Serna, Jemima Tanyi, MD and Josefina Asvalio. With the Twin City concept, Cobangbang promised an eco-cultural activity between the sister cities. Hawaii Island is my second home. Generations ago, Cabigao became the main portal for Filipinos seeking work in Hawaii's sugar industry. Mayor Cobangbang said, "Its port is the place where families said goodbye in 1946 to the Sakata workers headed across the Pacific to Hawaii." Leo Vigildo Hildo Mercado, the last living Sakata in Ka, greeted the delegation from Cabigao. He added, members of the sister city delegation said that a museum is planned in Cabigao to honor the Sakata. They sang a folk song commemorating the families who sent the workers from Cabigao to Hawaii, hoping they would someday return home. Many people living in Ka have roots in Cabigao, having chosen to stay in Hawaii. Like Fala, Cabigao has a deep tradition in agriculture. Their small family farms grow food to sell at markets. It is also famous for its bamboo and family workshop, bamboo furniture making. Its deep port has been used for trading since ancient times. Article by Marilie Bomediano.